Hi, everybody. My name is Jill Downin, and I am an associate professor in the chair of sculpture here at KCAI. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for showing up. What a beautiful room of people who have packed the house to see Raven this evening. I will do a brief introduction, and then I'm going to hand it over to Jessica, and she will do a brief introduction, and then we'll bring Raven up, okay? So, it is my pleasure to introduce the 2025 Jadel visiting artist, Raven Halfmoon. Underwritten by the Jadel Family Foundation, the program highlights nationally and internationally acclaimed artists at KCAI. The Jadel visiting artist enhances the student's educational experience with contemporary ideas, dialogue, and studio visits. For the second year in a row, KCAI is pleased to collaborate with the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art to sponsor this event. Our institutions have worked together these past months to bring Raven to our community for special and meaningful engagements, which includes the Current Perspectives lecture this evening. So, collaboration work is always exciting and possible when people come together. A heartfelt thanks to Peggy Shannon, the Nerman family president, to Jessica May, the executive director of the Kemper, and Jessica Hong, standing beside me, chief curator at the Kemper, the staff at the Kemper, Zoe Fisher, who is here from New York, of Salon 94, and Stacy Halfmoon, Raven's mom. I also want to thank the sculpture faculty, Michael Wickerson, Jarrett Mellenbrook, Kat Neklabova, Kev Townsend, and more for your support in planning the program for our students. Alda Baqueta and Graham Carroll, who are taking care of our AV and tech needs this evening. And I just want to acknowledge the many staff members at KCAI and the Kemper who contributed to making this week's events happen. We could not do it without you. Artists have a long journey of passing on wisdom and insight from generation to generation. Through the Jadel program, students can meet their heroes, be inspired, and be exposed to the most critical ideas of our times. Here in this place of creativity and dialogue, artists nurture artists. Raven spent yesterday with the KCAA students, one of the most essential parts of the Jadel programming. I want to thank the students who enthusiastically shared their ideas and artwork with her during studio visits. And thank you to all who participated in yesterday's roundtable discussion from sculpture, ceramics, painting, and product design. Your curiosity and intelligent questions made for a sincere and stimulating dialogue. Finally, thank you to Raven Halfmoon for your generosity and mentoring spirit, especially for the moments when you shared the following advice for students. Bring your best self to your work. Vulnerability is strength. You don't have to split parts of your identity or lived experience. Positive energy in good medicine comes from the physicality of making and working. Protect and take care of yourself. And then create with love and compassion. Thanks, Raven.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, and now here is Jessica Hong, Chief Curator at the Kemper Museum.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us, and we have to continue the thanks because this truly is an all hands on deck, incredibly collaborative endeavor. But I really want to thank Jill Downin here. It actually started with when Jill generously invited me to their studio and actually mentioned this Jadel visiting lecture series and asked for suggestions. And we had this incredible opportunity with Raven's show opening around the same time, and knowing that you all had some probably amazing other suggestions you were kind of soliciting. We were really excited that you were excited to bring Raven and to really bring this collaboration to life. So thank you, Jill. And I will say, when I first joined the Kemper and I learned that KCAI was just across the street, I was really looking forward to all of our potential collaborations. So in my about 11 months here, we've already been able to do so much together with lots more to come. So thank you all, of course, to Jill, to Jarrett Mellenbrook, the sculpture department, as well as the ceramics department, and of course Peggy Shannon. Our heartfelt appreciation, of course, to our supporters that allowed us to realize Raven's dynamic vision, along with our incredible board, the Kemper Family Foundations, Stephen and Barbara Abend, as well as Gretchen Calhoun and Neil Carbank, and of course our dedicated and loyal Kemper Museum members, so thank you. We also received support from the Missouri Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. As you all know, the NEA is facing significant upheaval, to say the least, but we're grateful to those who continue to champion and sustain vital cultural work. And I want to extend my immense thanks to my incredible Kemper Museum colleagues. It always is a museum-wide effort, but I do want to give a special shout out to Sam Maloney and Will Preeman, along with our on-call prep team. You know, we've been down some key staff members for some time, and they have went above and beyond to literally bring 2 exhibitions to life. And while you all get to enjoy the final product, this is real durational, mental, logistical, and physical labor, and I think all the artists in the room know that really well. And of course, Zoe Fisher, Raven's Gallery, and Stacy Halfmoon, who are truly active partners on this exhibition. And while Stacy couldn't be here, we're really delighted that Jason McCarty, Director of Communications for the Cherokee Nation, also Raven's dad, is here with us this evening. And as Raven's work reminds us our connections to each other, our ancestors, our kin, with this public platform, I want to recognize my parents who came all the way from LA to be here. I'm beyond grateful for the love and encouragement which sustain me and fuel my commitment to do this work. And of course, our endless and immense gratitude to Raven Halfmoon. We have seen throughout time that artists are our futurists and torchbearers. Especially in challenging times like these, it's essential that we stand behind these brave and extraordinary thinkers, dreamers, and creators. Raven's work assert and foreground Indigenous resilience and sovereignty, and in this exhibition, a necessary defiance with punk force, reminding us of the urgency of standing firm and speaking truth to power. So to just share a quick bio of Raven's very, very illustrious career, Raven Halfmoon of the Caddo Nation lives and works in Norman, Oklahoma. She attended the University of Arkansas, where she earned a double BA in ceramics painting, and she continues painting with her ceramics practice and cultural anthropology. Her first institutional exhibition, Raven Halfmoon, The Flags of Our Mothers, opened spring 2023, first at the Aldrich Contemporary Art Museum. Some of you may have seen the show because it continues to travel, will have a life well beyond. And then travel to the Bemis Center for Contemporary Arts in Omaha, the Contemporary Austin, now currently on view at the Ogden Museum of Southern Art in New Orleans, and will go on to Ballroom Marfa, as well as Oklahoma Contemporary. Halfmoon's work can be found in major public collections of Crystal Bridges, just across the border in Arkansas, the Detroit Institute of Arts, Forge Project Collection, Institute of Contemporary Art Miami, Philbrook Museum of Art, Museum of Fine Arts Houston, Nerman Museum of Contemporary Art, who was an early collector of Raven's work, our near neighbor, among others. In 2023, she was selected as an Idle York Contemporary Art Fellow by the Idle York Museum in Indianapolis. And in 2024, she was a finalist for the International Loewe Craft Prize. Most recently, she was featured in the Parrish Art Museum's Fresh Paint in 12th Site Santa Fe International, where she got a lot of acclaim for her particular participation, and just opened her installation on New York's High Line. She's actually about to jet off to New York right after this to do some public programming for that. So with her schedule as full as it is, we're beyond excited to open Raven Halfmoon Ride or Die and have her here with us this evening. So you're going to hear a little bit about her practice, and we're going to have some time for questions at the end. But without further ado, please help me welcome Raven Halfmoon.
This did get really dark. Well, I'm gonna have to continue the trend of the thank yous, but I'll keep it going here. I don't want the violin music to start playing, but I'm just thankful to be here in Kansas City, and I want to thank all of you for being here to support the work, to see the work, to come here for this talk. Like, thank you for all the support, because I wouldn't be showing without all of you here. And I also want to thank Jessica May, Jessica Hong, thank the Kemper. I want to thank KCAI for bringing me here, for doing this talk. I want to thank my gallery, Salon 94. My dad's here as well. Want to thank him, and my mom, who couldn't make it but helped put this show together as well. I also want to thank the Teen Arts Council, who I got to talk to earlier tonight, and the KCAI students who I got to meet with yesterday, as well as the Haskell students who are here this evening. You guys are the future. Like, it's been so great being able to talk to teens and talk to people, you know, who are in college, because I spend a lot of time in my studio alone. So being in a community and talking with students again is super inspiring. And what you guys have to say is super important. And so thank you so much for letting me speak with you and share words of wisdom. So I'm Raven Halfmoon. Yeah. I'm a contemporary Indigenous artist. I'm based in Norman, Oklahoma, and I am an enrolled citizen of the Caddo Nation. With government systems, you can only be enrolled in one federally recognized tribe, and so even though I am Caddo, I am also Oto, Choctaw, and Delaware. And I am Native on both sides of my family. Just to give a background here, I grew up in Oklahoma. My family is very prevalent, very, you know, we have on both sides, my mom and dad, my grandparents, Indian country, and being part of your community and knowing your history has always been very important and instilled in me from a very early age. And so I just happen, my father, who's here, works for the Cherokee Nation and is senior director of communications. And my mom has worked in multiple museum institutions and has helped open cultural centers in Oklahoma, Native cultural centers, all over, not just Oklahoma, in multiple states. And so I think, you know, growing up and seeing what my family was doing for Indian country and doing within tribal nations within Oklahoma was very, very special to me, and was always important in what I wanted to say and how I saw the world from a very early age. So Oklahoma is home to the most federally recognized tribes in the United States. That is obviously because of removal that happened. We are now, Oklahoma's formerly known as Indian country. And so I just wanted to share a picture of all the tribes here, headquarters that are now in Oklahoma, and Caddo is there in the center. This is our tribal headquarters. This is our regalia. This is where I grew up going to traditional dances, the colors that I saw. You'll see a lot of these same images, motifs in the work currently and in the work that I make today. So, you know, growing up in Oklahoma was fantastic, and once I then graduated from high school, I went to the University of Arkansas. At the University of Arkansas, I double majored in anthropology and art. And so this is where I was in my anthropology classes, taking museum studies, taking Native American studies, and really understanding my own tribe, my own culture through anthropological works and through the Arkansas Archaeological Survey, which was super, super interesting, obviously, to grow up with that heritage and then go to classes where you learn it with, where you learn with anthropologists. And so, you know, with going to my cultural anthropology courses, there's these, I found multiple inspirations of mounds, and these huge mounds that are all over America. My ancestors are mound builders, and so this is an image of Moundville that is in Moundville, Alabama, and it was actually called the 14th century the Big Apple. So I thought that was a kind of funny name, but you know, these are intricate trade systems. These are things that I was looking at and kind of really developing and developing a language and being inspired by when I was in school. These are all items that can be found in mounds. These are conch shells. This is a wood mask. This is marble. And all these items, there were several intricate trade systems, several intricate trading that happened with all of these places. So this is Cahokia, and this is a city this came up in the 12th century, and it's really amazing the mounds and what they were used for and how they were built. And I found such inspiration from this because not only were these my ancestors, but it's really something that took a whole community and took a whole group of people to really come together and build these, not only for the elite, but for ceremonial purposes. This is the Great Serpent Mound that I visited when I was in Ohio. This is a mound that is an effigy mound that is over 1,400 feet long. And this work was really just mind-boggling to me when I was in school. Something that took over the entire earth. How many people built this? Like, it was just, it was really insane to me. And so these are kind of like the first forefront things that I thought about when I started making my work. Another huge inspiration were the Olmec heads in Mexico. These are over 4 tons and were moved over 5 miles. And so this was another, this was another monolithic pieces that just blew my mind when I was in school, and something that I inherently have kind of brought into my practice. I love making busts. I love making large heads. These are the Moai on Easter Island. Again, all these images and things that I studied were in my courses, and then at the same time I was going to my contemporary art classes and ceramic classes and painting classes and trying to figure out what I wanted to say with what I found inspiring and then what I wanted to make. So this is a piece that I actually got to make when I was in college. This is a traditional Caddo pot. And it's over 2,000 years old. And I actually got to hold this piece at the Archaeological Survey when I was in school. And so taking that work and making it contemporary, trying my hand at making some pots. So you can see here, I am taking these artifacts that I studied that were from my own tribe, and then using that same iconography, that same imagery, and kind of recalibrating in a way that makes sense to my work, makes sense to my story, to who I am. So at this point, I'm figuring out that I don't want to make traditional pots. I don't want to make pottery. However, I'm still using these same motifs, the same images. Caddo's also inherently only used really strong, groggy clay. It's usually black, it's usually dark chocolate, and all of the work, it tends to be black and white. So again, these are, you'll continue to see all of this within my current body of work. So from here is when, I graduated. I'm kind of figuring out what I want to say, kind of still getting my bearings on my craft, my technique, how I'm building. I love the idea of large scale. I love the idea of graffiti. Traveling to LA, traveling to New York. Not only am I looking at everything that I've studied in school, ancient, like all these ancient works and growing up within my own tribe, but also, being a millennial and being someone who lives in the 21st century, someone that sees all the current social happenings, sees all the current political happenings. And so all of this is kind of working in my mind as I want to develop this work. So this piece has natural tattooings on her. This is when I decided I wanted to use black clay. I wanted to have a reference for Caddoan pottery. And so I continued to use the black and white. And I started to tag my work because, once I graduated, I was out in the world and showing and being a face for people to talk to and to look at. And these are kind of some tongue-in-cheek comments that I get when I'm out in the world sharing. You don't look native, or do you speak Indian? And there's over like 150 native languages like in the US. So it's kind of a way for me to take these questions take this information and kind of put it back on the audience, and kind of a way for, again, me to deal with these heavy issues, but put them back on the viewers. And so this is a piece titled 1590, well, this is titled First Encounter. And so 1591 was the first time DeSoto encountered Caddos in Arkansas. So I wanted to make a piece about that. And I studied painting and ceramics, as Jessica had mentioned. So you'll see my work is very painterly, very gestural. I don't spray anything. I like it to look messy and drippy, so you really feel that painterly effect, except I'm painting on ceramics. And so this is a piece that I made a few years ago, and it's based off of our Caddo origin story. And just to kind of give a quick synopsis, Caddos came from under the earth, under the ground, and we were led by a leader named Moon to come out into the light, and we brought tobacco and food, and all of our people were told to come out of the ground one by one. However, if anyone were to look back, then the hole would be closed. And so everyone was filing out, and Wolf looked back and closed the hole. So forever, some of our people are still under the earth and still underground. And so I wanted to make a piece about that. The hands are coming out, touching the light. They have been trapped. And this is a pack of cigarettes I made. So starting to, these are things and my experiences being out in the world now and showing in galleries, and kind of my own personal experiences, like living again as a 21st century Native woman, and kind of dealing with these stereotypes of what Native is and how we think about, how a lot of people think about what being Native American is. And so this was another tongue-in-cheek one that I wanted to make. Yeah, I think I was also smoking those at the time, so. And early influences, there have been people that, artisans, some people that I consider my gods that have been doing this way before me, and who I always need to pay homage to. T.C. Cannon is one of my gods, and he's also Caddo. So I wanted to make, this is my actual calendar that I had in 2009. I took this photo and designed it online and used it every day when I was running around, but then I wanted to put that same imagery on the ceramic piece. And I wanted to start to not just think about ancient works, but bring into my practice things that I use every day, right? Things that aren't just ancient, but things that I'm using today as a Native person. So this is T.C. Cannon. Again, he has had a major influence in my practice of capturing what Native life is like, capturing that. He was early 21st century, so he's a few years older than me and has passed away now. But even the colors, the vibrancy, the textures, this is something that always plays a part in my work and how I look at everything. Even how he paints and glazes, how pieces are split up. You can see a lot of that same motif in my ceramic work. This is Fritz Shoulder. Fritz Shoulder is another one of my gods, Native, and he was amazing. I went and saw one of his shows at IAIA in Santa Fe, actually with my family when I was younger, and all these pieces are like 8 feet tall, and this show was called Indian, Not Indian. So him dealing, with the side of being an artist and being Native, but then also making work that's not Native if he doesn't want it to be. So he's a great person and a great artist that I look up to, and it's kind of creepy, which I'm down with. So I'm always down for a little darkness in there. This is also Fritz Shoulder. You can see again, this is a piece that I've looked at for a long time. You can start to see, and when I show you later in the works, the horses, the glazing, how he paints his people. Again, this contemporary life of being Native. We have a guy here playing with let my gosh, the toy machine, like arcade, excuse me. Another huge influence is Van Gogh. I went to the Met with my family when I was like 14 years old, and I studied these works like, later when I was in college, but seeing these works in person, I don't know if you guys have seen Van Gogh. I know there's Van Gogh around here, but I mean, it's just mind blowing. Like seeing his brush strokes and like the paint and how thick it was and the intimacy and the immediacy actually of how he paints is something that I continue within my work, because when I saw his paintings, it put me right back there with him, like when he was making that work. And so I wanted to have that same immediacy when people come and see my work. So when you see my work, you can see every single fingerprint. Nothing is perfect, nothing is smoothed out. It's not made to be perfect. And so he has always been a major influence. And this is Francis Bacon. He's amazing. Also dark, also creepy. Also distorts the figures a lot. They're not made to be perfect, anatomically correct figures. They're made to, he was someone I looked at when it's truly just your point of view and you're not trying to make a perfect face, you're not trying to make a perfect body. It's just truly how you see the world. And he's been a brilliant master for me. Modigliani. You can see a lot of this work too as I started to create more with the eyes, the elongated necks. Again, when I was growing up, I consider museums and institutions and where we saw all these, where my parents took me to see all this art, like I consider like these spaces my church. It's where I learned to look at the world and and what I want to say with my work. And so all these artists have had a major impact on how I create. Mark Rothko, I actually, when I was younger, didn't love the work, and then I had to write my art history dissertation on him, and it was like a 15-page paper in college, and it kind of changed my life. I was like, I get it now. I don't know if you ever have to like go down a rabbit hole of research, but after that I was like, I get it. I totally see the vision. And even within how he paints and breaks everything up and does the blocking and the super simple textures, that is exactly what I have brought within my work. And fashion. So these are things that, we see today, right? Like these are, I'm always influenced by pop culture, always of what's happening of today. And I'm really big into Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton is my favorite fashion house. I have it tattooed on my finger. That's how much I love it. But so, seeing these kind of iconic purses and things that are being sold and branding and marketing and what we think of just like this one LV and these colors, also things that I think about. Same with Chanel. I mean, everyone knows the 2 C's, right? It's also the same idea of how I think of like even Caddo pots. Like when I was in school, they have the same, it's only one region where my tribe is from, and everyone knows where those pots are from because they use the same motif around the pot. Same with branding, right? Like we all know, it's like stamping it in a place, in a time, and something that's like super iconic and branded. And so I think a lot about that when I make my work too. So this piece is titled Family Names to Last Through the Generations. I'm Halfmoon on my mom's side, and on my dad's side, I'm McCarty. So, also during this time, thinking about identity, thinking about what that means, being Native, also being Irish, balancing those two things. And so this is when I started tagging Louis Vuitton and tagging some of these kind of famous fashion houses on my pieces that have Native tattooing, kind of bringing this family, bringing these people into today's world is kind of how I like to think of it. And so with this piece, I started thinking about multiplicity, a physical manifestation of showing more than just my point of view. And I was like, how can I make that within the work? Like within my work, there's my dad's stories, there's my mom's stories, my great-grandfather's, all these stories that have been passed through the generations. And I was like, how can I show that it's more than just the self? And so, this is where I started making multiple eyes, multiple bodies, kind of this idea of like, it's more than just my point of view. I have a lot of people here with me, helping me make this work. So this is a continuum of that. We still have the tattooing. Caddos also we had traditional tattoos. Caddos were famously known as tattoos. I'm wearing a jacket right now, but I'm also into tattoos. So this is a continuation of that. Right now is when I was also, traveling a lot and going to major cities. I was getting to go to New York and getting to go to LA. And this idea of tagging and graffiti and tagging your name on something and claiming it as yours and claiming a space. So was really prolific for me as taggers saying, I was here and this is my name. And so I wanted to instill that within the ceramics. And when I was in painting courses, everyone signed their name like really large. And then I would get to my ceramic courses and no one signed their name on anything. They like would barely even put their initials on the bottom. So, I started getting to a point where I was like, yeah, this is mine. Like I'm claiming this. I'm going to put my name on it. And, yeah, it might be a little too big. I got kind of excited with that idea. I was like, yeah. But also it's a claim of, it's a sharing of a family name, right? So even just tagging my name, you're like, who's Halfmoon? Who is this? It's carrying on my great grandfather's name, the names that I've been passed down through my families. So this is a piece I have in Little Rock, Arkansas. That's my Chow Chow, as you guys saw in the show. He's bigger than that now. But so this piece is titled, Do You Practice Your Culture? Again, more questions that I get just out being in the world and sharing and my pieces being out in the world. So it's at this point that I went to Helena, Montana at the Archie Bray. It's a residency that's pretty well known for their bringing out ceramic artists and having ceramic artists kind of boom out of their program. And I loved Montana. And so Montana, this is for me too, where there was larger kilns. I had access to a 6-foot kiln. And before I was like a goldfish, like whatever the size the kiln was, I was like, I'm gonna build it that size. So then I got here and it was 6 feet. I was like, I'm gonna build to 6 feet. And this piece, She's Something Else, is actually at the Nerman. If you haven't been there already, you can go see her in person right now. So I actually just went there not too long ago and it was good seeing family again. So this is when you, again, start to see, I'm not only doing heads, but I'm starting to use the full figure. I'm starting wanting to use the full space of the kiln. And then it was here that I said, how can I go even bigger? I was like, okay, I'm here for the next 2 years and I only have a 6-foot kiln. Let's stack them. And so this piece on the bottom is 5 feet and the top is 5 feet. And this is the first one that I made and stacked, and it didn't have an armature, and I had my friends help me. This one was actually it's showing right now at the Ogden in New Orleans, and this is one of the ones that's traveling in that show. So, but it was fun figuring out the logistics of putting something like this together because I didn't have access to that information. I didn't know how to put one of these together. I just, as I like to say, I'm a trigger puller. Like, I don't know the plans. I'm just like, let's do it. We'll figure it out as we go. And so this was one of those pieces. We figured it out and we double stacked her. So this is, again, you're seeing larger sizes. This piece is almost 6 feet tall, again, with the tagging. And in here, this is when I was really, you can see the Mark Rothko, right? I really wanted to simplify it. I only wanted to use a couple colors. This is what I'm only thinking about. I want to use red, black, and white. I wanted my pieces to be high contrast, graphic, grab your eyes. And I'm still doing multifaceted faces, multiple bodies. And this, when I was talking about the imagery on cattle pots, it's that one, it's that right there. So you'll see that tagged on a lot of my work too. It symbolizes the Red River, which the Red River is the river that divides Oklahoma and Texas. So I use that symbol a lot too to kind of take claim to where I'm from, take claim and put it back out into the world so people just don't know it on ancient artifacts. Again, multifaceted. I'm doing multiple eyes. This one is another one made at the Bray. Again, simplifying the colors, deciding this is, when I'm looking at fashion houses and when I'm looking at when I'm looking at branding and how I want to see the work and view myself, I'm really starting to narrow it down to a specific look and a specific language, which I really enjoyed. Again, this Mark Rothko, because my work is so gestural and so loose, I really like to put in aesthetically super harsh right-angled lines. I think if it was too messidly glazed and then it's also very organic, a lot of the work is, it becomes a lot to look at. And so the pieces, even though they're gestural and loose, I glaze pretty tight with the right angles and the perpendicular lines, which I really love within the work. This piece is titled Quarter Horse, Quarter Indian. So this is my first, having a reflection of, this is about blood quantums and how we think of blood quantums, which again are problematic, but are put on horses and Native people. So this is my first hand at doing some horses. And they're Appaloosas. Appaloosas are my favorite horses. They're all spotted. They have spotted butts. They're so pretty. And this is when I wanted to start to add figures to the work, starting to, take claim. I wanted to start to make warriors out in the world, warriors fighting for these spaces and fighting for their voice. And so she has war paint on, and she's, kind of has her arm up. This is when, too, within my work, I don't choose to show every single body part. That's not really important to me. So sometimes a lot of my pieces won't have arms or won't have legs, or a lot of times I don't do the full figure because, again, it's conceptually I want the idea there, but it's always not important to me to show every single detail of what that figure is. So from here is when I went to California State Long Beach. This is Tony Marsh. This is my fairy godmother in the world. He has helped me with everything, and he leads a residency program in Long Beach. Multiple artists have been out there, but they have, most importantly, the largest kilns in America. So that's what I was like, I gotta go. So this is the piece that I created for Flags of Our Mothers. She is titled Flag Bearer. And they have a 9-foot kiln, and I wanted to build a piece that was in 3 sections and 14 feet tall. So we're on painting scaffolds. I have friends here helping me. So this is the bottom of that section. These are also, again, with all of this work, up until this point, I had been doing everything by myself. And then when I came to this residency, I had 6 people helping me full time, 24/7. And so it's really important to have the support and people who believe in the work, and they were so great. And even doing this work, it kind of gave me a lesson of you can't do everything by yourself, and I need a lot of help when I build things of this nature, and when things are being moved of this size, and they're thousands of pounds. They need help going in the kiln. People have to crate them. So it really is a community, and that goes back to when I was showing, all the mounds and the effigy serpent mound. These are some of these ideas where people come together and help you build these monolithic pieces and help me put them out into the world. And I'm always thankful for that. And so I continue to build large, and these are all the people that helped with that. This piece on the left is 9 feet tall. And then here on the right, that's the top of the head that I showed being built. So yeah, it was really amazing being here and I learned a lot with building large technically. I know people love to hear all the technical stuff of like how you move them and getting into a kiln, and it's really hard. And you have to have a lot of equipment. You have to have a forklift, and but it's pretty amazing to watch and see. So a lot of these pieces went to a show that I had titled Sunsets in the West, and this was in LA. So Sunsets in the West, I wanted to play with a new color palette. It's also growing up in Oklahoma. You know, we're considered, I consider kind of the West, and then I went to Montana. And then I went and made this work in California. So this idea of everywhere I've been and have experienced these sunsets, and we all experience them, but then being in different places, I really wanted to share that. And so this one's titled On the Lookout for Choctaw Ponies. She's also 9 feet. And then this one is titled America's Sweetheart. Again, a double stack, playing with this idea of lateral glazing. Yeah, American Sweetheart is kind of a take on our flag too, of how we see, which I'll get into that about this show as well. But that's kind of where where the star image started, was a couple years ago, and so a continuum of that. This is the finished piece, Flag Bearer, from California State Long Beach. It took about 1.5 years to finish, to see this through, like to see it finished. It took me almost 2 months to build, and then it sat to dry for 6 months, and then each one of those sections fired for 3 weeks. So yeah, it's a process. It was so funny when I put this show together, the curator, I had never put it together before, because I was like, I don't have a forklift. I'm like, I made it. And then we put it together the evening before the opening. So she about had a heart attack. She was like, does it work all together? I was like, I don't know. I never put it up before. So we were like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was pretty insane. And she's about 14 feet tall, and this has I'll have to show some in progress images. I'm not really good with that, but the forklift and the crane and the armature that went into this, like, I always just have to like leave the building, because I think I bring anxious energy instead of helpful energy. And it, you know, the company that helped put her together are like, we do this all the time. So and this is some more images of her and just her size. And another piece from that show. This piece is titled Weeping Willow Woman. So the Flag Bearer was me working up in scale, and then I wanted to make a piece I wanted to do the opposite. And so I was like, let's make one really wide. And so this is about the size of a queen bed. So yeah, so then I was like, okay, let's start moving out this way. So just pushing the material in any way that I can is always super exciting to me. This is my Chow Chow. This is Teddy. My dog's name is Teddy B. I have 2 chows. The other one is Neshoba, means wolf. So yeah, this is the piece that's at the Kemper right now. This piece is titled Protector 1. So, you know, Ride or Die with this show specifically, I wanted to pay homage to the entities and beings that are our ride or dies. For me, those are my chow chows. They protect me with everything in life. They're here with me right now as I travel to Kansas City. They make me feel safe. Chow chows, if you kind of understand dog stuff, chow chows are a super ancient breed from China. They guarded royal palaces. And they're a little like protective and standoffish. They only bond with 2 people. Basically, they have a very small circle. And that's kind of like how I emulate myself too, or kind of how I think of myself. I'm like, yeah, I feel like I don't depend on a lot of people, but I'm trying to change that. So, you know, the chow chows are really important to me because they're protective of me. I'm protective of them. So I wanted them in the show because they're my ride or dies, right? They're these beings that are always with me, that help me, that get me through things, that make me feel safe, make me feel encouraged, make me feel happy. And And so this is another piece that's in the show, and she was inspired by the Scout. That's the bronze statue here in Kansas City that's looking out onto the city. And I was really inspired by that piece and wanted to pay homage to that. And so you'll see horses, you'll see these figures that are in the show as well. And I kind of think of this piece in particular, as an ancestor, as someone who is your ride or die, someone who might not be in this realm. However you think about an ancestor, however you think about the people, the creator being, whoever it may be, who's up above, helping you out, who's got your back, who's making sure you're doing all the good things right in this world, in the universe. And so, this show really is my ride or dies. I think of her as my ancestor. And a lot of these works as well are, growing up in Oklahoma, there's not only are we home to 38 federally recognized tribes, but we're also a pretty red state too. We're pretty southern, pretty western, and even going out and riding my horses, there's I have to deal with like gruff cowboys that ride their horses as well. And so this juxtaposed position of growing up in the Bible Belt and being in Oklahoma, but also having all this tribal knowledge, tribal history, like both of those are true, right? So I always just try to share my lived experience. It's also kind of a trope on this idea. I think there's this romanticized idea of, cowboys and Indians and everything. I think there's also romanticized versions of what that is, romanticized ideas of what being Indian is, and probably what Oklahoma is too. Everywhere I travel, people are like, Oklahoma, huh? So a lot of these pieces, pay tribute to that, of how I've grown up, and not really trying to shut anyone else out, but to just share what other histories are there, because I think sometimes a lot of people don't see it, and there's a lot of Native history. There's it's all there too. So that piece is in the show, and I currently, as they said, I have a work going on the High Line. It just installed, where I will be traveling to New York. So this is actually a scanned. This is actually a scanned version of the piece that I just showed you, and this is made out of travertine stone. And so it's black travertine, white travertine, and then it's inlaid with the blue stars, the opal stars in the back. And we scanned this piece, and it is 4 feet tall, the stone by itself. And then she's also on a pedestal that the gallery helped me design, which is black and white concrete that is made to emulate a woman's body. And so I'm super excited to get this out there. She's titled West End Warrior. So on the High Line, or in New York, in this area, she's right by the Whitney. They used to ride horses and get people out of the way for the train system so people didn't get hit. And I kind of think of her as like one of those warriors that were coming in and helping people get out of the way. So she's on the west side. I was gonna play a video. So this is a video of how this piece is made. She was made in Italy after a scan, so it kind of shows you how the travertine is pulled, how it's cut and scanned, which is pretty exciting. So this is a piece that I had at my show at Salon 94. This is also stone, stacked travertine, and this is the first stone piece that I actually made. She is, her regalia here on the back it's called a dush doe. Caddos wear this during our turkey dance. And this is something that I wanted to emulate on this piece. And she's called Dancing at Dusk, because that's when we turkey dance in Oklahoma. And then we take the dush does off. And so she's dancing at dusk. And also you can also see the multifaceted eyes, black, white, and red. I wanted to continue with the crosses. Crosses for me are the 4 directions. They mean balance. It's kind of like all worldly. It's supposed to be safe. It's supposed to be protection and balance in your life. And this piece I'm super proud of. This one is called The Guardians. And I made this a 1-to-1. This is a 9-foot clay piece that was then casted and poured. And this is bronze, which is pretty amazing because it looks like clay. It's where we've come with what we can do with material is pretty insane. But she was casted and is now going to the National Gallery of Art in Australia. If anyone ever goes to Australia. But yeah, I'm super proud of this piece. I wanted to, again, have a piece that feels protected. She's two women back to back, her hands over her heart. When you view her in the round, it makes an infinity symbol. And, you know, I was also inspired. I had just went for the first time to the, oh my God, the museum in Chicago, the old one. No, the other one. Field Museum. So I went to I did go to the Art Institute. No, the Field Museum, because they have all these like sarcophagi and pretty insane, pretty crazy. So that after seeing that, I was like, wow, I love this idea of like kind of these women who stand and are there for you, and still using the black and white. I love these colors. Also, my name's Raven Halfmoon, so, you know, half light, half dark. I feel like I'll continue to, and you'll see the piece that's in the show too, that's glazed half black and white, because it's always a balance, right? We balance our light, we balance our dark, and we all have that within us. And so a lot of the work is also, you know, saying that it's okay to have both. It's okay to have both of inside of us, and it continues to be a balance. It continues to be a back and forth. And so, again, that's another reason why a lot of my pieces are split and glazed in that way. This is a book that I recently made, and it has all of my works that I've done thus far in my career. If you want to look at more photos that aren't on my website or Instagram, there's also critical writing, multiple interviews I've done. I'm really proud of this book. I helped design like the whole thing. And so, yeah, it's available. That's it. Thank you.